in high school, I have had a long-standing grudge against all Marvel movies, and I have seen next to none of them. What is this grudge based on? Pure pettiness and nothing else. That is it. I am not going to make any lame excuses. I'm sure the movies are great. I just don't want to watch them because my favorite movie ever was The Dark Knight. And then when the Avengers came out 4 years later, I heard so many people saying, oh my God, it's the greatest superhero movie ever. And I was like, no. And I took personal offense to that. So since then, I've had a grudge against them, and I refuse to watch any of them just on principle. And I fully acknowledge that I'm sure all those movies are better than the current DC movies, because the current DC movies are terrible. However, I maintain that if DC can get their act together and actually make good stories, the characters and the stories that they could tell would be better than the Marvel stories. Marvel just has their act together and DC does not.
And you also, you shared something else about what is characteristic of DC comic heroes' character, you know, that they're either flawed or conflicted.
I personally think that each one is just so much more interesting. Like, Batman is my favorite superhero, and I think he is so much better than Iron Man. He is a much more flawed person. He has so much more to give and to gain. And I think that speaks to every single one of those superheroes. Superman being the original, he is a god amongst men and carries all this weight on his shoulders, and somehow the world can't figure out that he's Superman, even though he looks thin. Anyway, and then there's Wonder Woman, who is literally just peak woman. She is, you know, such a badass in every sense of the word, and she can go toe to toe with anyone in the world, and she will kick your ass and take names and not apologize and slay across all points of life. And I just find it way more intriguing. Also, the villains are so much more intriguing to me when they're written correctly.
Or yeah, and I don't recognize that in the Marvel characters.
Not that that's wrong, but just another layer. Also, I think, side note, Batman and the Joker, I think, are like, dictionary definition is the perfect example of foils for any storyteller ever. If you want to see two characters who are foils, Batman and Joker. There is no better example.
All right. So again, tell me what drives you. What's the driving force in your life? What's the most important thing that why you wake up in the morning?
The reason why I wake up in the morning is that the whole world is in absolute disarray. Humanity has come to a point where it can't be redeemed itself, at least in the old way. But I have my view of humanity. You see, mankind has become too greedy and become consumptious. The world has become corrupt, which is why I wake up in the world and to fight my way and to bring, how to put it, a new dawn for the world. The only way to bring that humanity to that world is to destroy the old humanity.
Could you explain destroy?
And by destroy, as in destroying the civilization across the world. Mankind is destroying nature all across the world. It is poisoning our atmosphere. The only way we can bring peace and balance to the natural order is to dismantle civilization and start anew.
And who decides who lives and who dies?
It doesn't matter. It involves the destruction of countless billions of people. Mankind is easily destructive and must be controlled.
So there's not going to be any kind of vetting process in terms of who, like, maybe we're going to let the scientists live or engineers, or it's just,
I There are some scientists that are some consideration, and there are some good fighters who are worth of keeping. These people will be spared, but we are here to spread terror into this world and to show that the man old ways are never true and cause great corruption.
okay. Okay. Lead detective, what drives you? What makes you want to get up in the morning and go to work?
Order, structure. I like things to be simple, no BS, and just clock in, do the work. The work usually finds you, so you just got to make sure you do good by your name.
And Gotham is kind of in disarray in a lot of levels. Can you explain to us more about like your cases and what the situation is in the city?
Well, I can't really discuss cases in public, but if you're part of the precinct, I would tell you it varies. Some weirdos out there, like always. A lot of corrupt people out there, but we can only do so much with the resources we have. And I try to stick to what I think is right. Some people want to dig a little bit deeper, and I feel like that's when you get in trouble.
Okay, so meaning you'll do what's asked of you, but you won't go above and beyond.
Exactly.
Does this have to do with a survival instinct, or?
I do as I'm told, and just don't want to cause any rifts.
Okay.
But like I said, that's for another time, another place. I can't really get too deep into it.
Thank you.
You see here, as you just said, Gotham is a very corrupt city, and I want to bring justice and bring in the criminals, bring them to jail, and make sure all the criminals are out of the street. You know, because Gotham, with those people plaguing the city, there's a reason why no one wants to visit Gotham City.
Do you have trouble sleeping at night?
Yes, I actually do. Because sometimes when the case goes cold and I really want to go in there and find it, but my superiors say, "Oh, don't do that, don't do that. We don't have the resources for it." So it makes me stay up at night really thinking like, what can we really do to save these victims from the goons plaguing the streets of Gotham City?
How do you feel about the risks that you're taking?
The risk that I take, as long as I know I'm doing what is right for the city of Gotham and the citizens, I'll go far and beyond. I'll do anything. If a citizen jumps out the building, I'm gonna jump out the building and try to save him.
So to
Even
protect
from-
and to serve.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
What drives me is this. When I was very young, just a small boy, my parents were killed in front of me. And even though I come from an incredibly wealthy family, this shows nobody is above crime. So while I may be able to stop things politically and socially as my secret identity, Bruce Wayne, there are certain things Bruce Wayne can't do. And that's where Batman comes in. Batman is not afraid to get his hands dirty. Batman is not afraid to break rules. Batman will do what needs to be done to ensure that there can be real peace and justice, and those that deserve vengeance have vengeance brought upon them.
So how do you feel in terms morally? I mean, would you say that as Bruce Wayne, you are more conflicted than when you are Batman?
Having the two sides, having the two parts of me allows me to keep the two parts separate. what I can't do as Bruce Wayne, I'm able to do as Batman. What I can't do as Batman, I can do as Bruce Wayne.
Do you ever get, I mean, do the two identities sort of meld together at some point? I mean, do you ever sort of feel that you're not quite certain of who you are?
There have been very challenging and testing times where I've questioned whether this face is my real mask or whether the cowl is my real mask. And quite honestly, even to this day, it is very difficult to tell at times.
Thank you for your candor. All right, our next question.
What makes
brings
me
you happiness
happy
and joy?
is just the peace and solitary life, high in the mountains, practicing my martial combat, and studying plant life. You see, when I study plant life, I learn about ways to make me immortal.
Speaking of immortality, does immortality bring a certain responsibility?
Absolutely. For years, hundreds of years, I have tried to bring the world to its natural order and balance. But there's something that opposes it ever since the dawn of the industry. It has been my purpose to eliminate the corruption of humanity. That's if that way I can have peace and solitary, not in the high mountains, but the entire world.
Thank you. Lead detective, what makes you happy? What do you care about?
Care about the safety of the precinct. Care about the safety of myself, people I love.
Tell me about the people you love.
They're special to me. You know, I'll do anything for them, but there is also a limit to that. I don't know if I could cross them. It's a gray area with my line of work. There's some things you do that you know you have to do, but you can't. There's things you do that you're not proud of.
Are you married or do you have family, close family?
Yeah, girlfriend.
How does she feel about your line of work?
I don't tell her much. I think it's best unknown what I do, and we keep the work at work and our relationship at home where it needs to be.
And so it's easy for you to, can you turn off whatever's been bothering you from work during the day when you're with her?
Sometimes I think I just got good at hiding it.